Okay. The last alert that we had was the British USD. That was at 6:30. We also had one with the USD JPY at 6:30. So right now I've drawn out the British or the USD JPY. Now keep in mind that today is non-farm payroll report day at 8:30. So we have lots of red folders with Canadian, the US dollar, all at 8:30. We have the non-farm payroll report, unemployment change. We have a whole bunch of things that are come out. So I, for one, am not going to take any trades until after those announcements and see how things settle in after that 8:30 announcement. And I'm going to probably wait at least 15 or 20 minutes at the minimum before I take any trades. We'll probably get some alerts probably around the 8:30 to 9 o'clock area, but I'll be real careful about taking the trades. I'll give them lots of room to work, so they have lots of, because they're just relatively volatile. Sometimes it can work with you, sometimes against you, but I just pretty much stay away from them until I can figure out how to trade those more effectively and more consistently. So having said that, let's go to the British or the USD JPY. And what I'm looking at with this is, let me take some of this stuff off here. I drew this on right now on a 1 hour chart. I'm looking at, see, what kind of a range have we had in the last, on a 1 hour chart, where are the significant pivot highs and lows? And we had the alert at six, see, this is at 6:30, it should be, that's on 1 hour chart. Let me go to the 15-minute chart again. There we go. This was the alert at 6:30. And I drew this white box around the significant pivot highs and pivot lows that this thing is trading in, where the alert came in. And you can see that it's kind of right in the middle of the range, and it had a nice strong move up where you got the alert. But I still like to go back and see where I can have a pivot. I like to see 3 pivots before the alert. I could only get 2 significantly. So I drew my triangle and I have my box, and just seeing where the price is in reference to the high and the low of where this box is. And right now you're seeing, I drew this Fibonacci line, and I have that. So it's right now it's trading right at the 61% retracement inside this box. So, and you can see that in the last, probably about the last hour or so, it hasn't really changed, varied more than about 6 or 7 pips in the last hour or hour and a half. So it's already taken consideration that it's not going to do much anyway until the 8:30 announcement, which is going to be another 30 minutes. So that's one thing to be looking at. But we're still looking at, we have an intermediate trend. You can see where this thing sort of came up real, it was just going sideways for the most part, this thing's just going sideways. And then it had a nice little spike up, and that's where we got the alert. So I'm going to reference inside our bigger wedge. I'm going to reference at least where I saw a trend line where we had the hits, and we'll just kind of take note of that. But really, it's not tradable right now because of such a tight range. And you can see where all the RSIs are right in the middle. It's not going anywhere. And so then there's no real clear direction. The dollar is and the yen are all right about in the middle of the currency pack range. So really there's no trade here right now. And so this is just one to stay away from for the meantime. Having said that, we had at 6:30 also, we had the British US. I drew this on the 15-minute chart. Now this one was a little bit tougher to do because this one you could see, excuse me, I got a horse in my throat. You can see where it does have somewhat of a trend going down. It was a descending trend, a descending wedge that it alerted us to. So when I first started drawing it, I drew it, and I've got this on a replay right now, and we're going to try and replay this. I was first looking at this pivot high. Actually, I was looking at this pivot high. Here we had a hit, and then here we had, so this is basically the initial trend, and with a flat bottom on the bottom. So that's where I kind of started the wedge. But then as I got down, I started looking to see where, or if it breaks. I don't usually like the wedges, a break of such a really steep wedge, mainly because it just it's you need when you do that, I need to put in some sort of a target about where I'm looking at the target. If it breaks the wedge at the C part, which is pretty much what we do, we have this the anchor a hit and the C. So this is a nice trend line. But if it breaks this, we have to figure out where are we going to go for a target. And so I'm going to be looking at the next area where the wicks, where we had a nice candle down, and then where the wicks start to were developed. So this is the area where the price was rejected, bringing it down to the bottom here. So if it does come back up, if it does break the wedge, it's going to be looking at this area for a target zone. And so that's why I'm going to draw a little box around here. If I can get this thing to work. There we go. And I'm going to draw a box around this area of wicks for a potential target if this thing does break to the upside. And I have another, and the next area after this would be this area, but primarily up here where the 62 moving average is located. So these would be the two areas that I'd be looking at if it breaks to the upside. And that would give you enough range that if, let's say it broke, right where it is right now, your range is only just to the bottom of that box. You have just 8 pips. That's barely enough to hang your hat on, and just be enough to where you could get whipsawed. Up here would be a little bit better, give you a little bit better chance at getting your profits. On the same token, on the downside, if you're looking at pulling on a 1 hour chart, you can see that this is the area that is of concern right here. And see on a 1 hour chart. So this would be where we have, let me see, this is, make sure this is a wick. Yep, that's a wick. So from the break, where it would have broken, it would have been, you'd have all these wicks right here. So the next real area that it comes to where it's not going to run into any wicks is going to be pretty much right down in this area from a 15-minute perspective. But these are all, if you just bring your line over here and you come over, you run into a wick, and the next one is, so this would be the lower body. This is about as good as it would get, right to about in this area right here would be about as tight as you could get it. But you see this was already been penetrated, so I would want to go below this one. And so I'd be looking at this area right here. But keep in mind that, so it would have to break, and this would be the area of interest right here. So if we go to back to a 15-minute chart, so where we actually started this whole thing. Oh, I think I lost my, let me go back. I need to get this back on a 1 minute. So I just want to lose my position. I'm losing my position. There, that's better. That's what happens with these replays. You kind of lose things when you change time frames. Okay, there's our time frame. We'll just keep it at that. I'll come over here and take a look and see where that zone was looking at. And I'm going to put it right about in this area. Now let's just take it from here to here. Let's see if that picks it up. I'm going to go down a little bit lower because that's where the wedge was. So I'm going to take it right to this. We'll just take it down to this area. That's our area of, that would be our next target area if it breaks the wedge. So anyway, having said all that, we're going to come to a 5-minute chart. And as I said, I'm going to do a replay on this so you can see kind of which way, how this thing went. And we adjusted our wedge. I'm going to keep this as to respect this area. It's actually right along the 62 moving average on the 5-minute. You can see that it's inside the wedge. This B area is, we'll be looking at the D as a reference. Well, actually, we just know if it breaks, this is a very shallow slope, but it is descending. And we're just going to make our 2-pip line. So we have our 2-pip reference. Right about from there to, let's see, that's at 83.4. And I'll go down to 82.4. Close enough. Bring this onto a 1-minute chart. Expand it out. And nice right now, I can tweak this over here to the top of where before the wedge. I'm going to move this over to where the bottom before the wedge alert. And this is the area that we're going to be looking at. And as we replay this, I'll do a candle by candle. Again, we're looking for the breakout of the wedge, top or bottom. There is some techniques about trying to catch it a little bit earlier, but right now that's more of an advanced strategy, and it also adds a little bit more risk to it as well. You can see that we have a nice, all of our moving averages are in the right direction to go short. Our RSIs are weak. We have 3 red hole moving averages, and our spread on our US GPY says the spread is 3-point spread in favor of the USD going short. And that's because the British pound USD is the pair. The USD is the second currency of that pair. And if it's strong, that means it's looking to go to the downside. And so we keep on playing it. There was a little rejection of the wedge. Still don't know which way it's going to go. Remember, we have this area up here. This was the trend line from the higher trend line. So if it breaks here, you have to be looking at, do you have enough room to get this higher trend line from here to here? And that's 6 pips. So you'd be looking, that's 6 pips wide. If you get filled with a 2-pip, you're only looking at 4 pips here. So that would not be enough room for me to take that trade, because you probably get somewhat of a bounce off of that if it does get up that high. Okay, it broke it, but it still went right back into the wedge. It didn't respect it very well. It's coming back down. Now it's coming to, it's right at the wedge, it closed right at it. We did have a nice rejection up here. And so we can keep on going, and you're looking for that candle to close. And at that point, it's closed well within, below the, and it's a strong candle. Everything's still moving down. The dollar is still strong. And this would be okay to, I would prefer to see a blue candle, at least a blue wick before it, but this would be okay to take the entry there. That depends on what your risk level is. Oftentimes you get that strong candle down and it just pulls back and retests the wedge, just like it did over here, where it came down, almost hit it, and went back very strong. But now this broke this area right here. It broke it with a nice closed candle. So you're looking at 2 pip. If it comes back to even like this yellow moving average, which is oftentimes where it's going to be trending to follow, you're still looking at your stop will still be up here with it'd be having still within your 7-pip stop. So this would be it'd be okay to, you can justify taking the trade just with the fact that it came from up here, strong move down, and your stop is still pretty much on the other side of where this wedge is. Second candle, it never even looked back. And also, when you see a candle that closes right at the with no wick at all, which is this candle right here, it closed without even a little bit. This one has a little bit of a wick. This one had no wick at all. That's a pretty good indication that it's going to keep on going. It just with that type of momentum. And keep on going. And our target would have been right here at, you see you get in from here, 7 pip target you're looking at is right about to, well, it's right about where it is right now. Even if you got filled with a 2 pip spread, let's say you got filled at 80 to 79, and you had your target in here for a short position. Let's say your fill was right here. Put this into 7 pips. And you can see right now, you're just about filled with, even if you got your 2 pip, you lost 2 pips on the spread. And right now the spread is 1.6. So you've become very close to making your target on that, in that case. And there you probably got filled. It comes back and rejects and comes back to retest the wedge. Came back, retest the wedge, and now the decision is, do you want to take another position? If you closed out, do you want to take another position, or do you want to wait and see if it breaks the top of the wedge? And that's a subjective call. A lot of times if you get a break, you only get 7 pips, it comes back. Oftentimes that's just that's your trade for the day, and if it breaks the top side, a lot of times you'll get the stronger move to the upside. But it's still the whole area of this whole trade was, or the price action was still in a downward. So this could be a possibility to take another shot at it. And keeping in mind that we're getting close to the 8:30 time frame. So it's going to, this was a big move before, as it's waiting now to take a position for before the announcement. And this is about where we are. We'll just play this out. And that's where we are right now as we speak. It's trying to break through. It still has a little bit, still following this 62 trend line. And that would be the trade. So those are the 2 trades we had so far this morning. And the British USD, or the USD JPY, is still, it's starting to get a little bit more movement going on. We're still 10 minutes away from the announcement. A lot of times you'll see the, sometimes you'll see a decisive move before the announcement. That's everybody's, all the people that know which way things going to go, they're starting to take their positions. For us as small-time traders, we just don't always know. We don't have the same information that the big boys are getting. They say there's no favoritism as far as getting the information, but I don't know that I totally believe that. But anyway, right now this thing is coming up. If it breaks out of the top of this is the range it's been in for the last couple days. It comes back. This was today's range in this area. Between these blue vertical lines, this is the day. So this is Friday, this is Thursday, and this was Wednesday. And you can see that this is a range that's been in since Wednesday. So if it breaks, and you can see where it came from, it's been kind of all over the place really this week. But you can see where it has been trending somewhat downward this whole week. And we'll see if it's going to break to the upside or which way it's going to go. We just don't know. But this is the area. As long as it's inside this area, I would not be interested. I'd be waiting for it to break out and then give me some sort of a trending type of direction. But if it does break, this would be the next area that it'd be looking at, which would be, put it on a 1-hour chart. Spread this out a little bit. And if we come over here and see where the wicks are, this just one little wick right here, this would be the target. If it does break out, this would be the target we'd be looking at up to this area. And then if it breaks this, it would come up to this area. So we have a little bit of a zone from here. It's a very small zone. If you see, look and see where all the wicks are. Where we have the red body, at the end of the red body, you have the wicks. And then after this area, this is the next place where you can run into some wicks. So this would be the next area. If it breaks if it breaks, comes up, and if it breaks to the top, which is the top of the box, this would be the area of target I'd be looking at seeing. But we don't know if it's going to break the upside or downside. And over here, this was the move we had before. This came all the way down. So this was a really strong move. And the first place we had any type of a pause was right here where there's a little wick over wick. It came up, wicked up, came back down, formed another little red candle, and then took off again. So if it comes back, if it does break the bottom, I would expect to have some sort of a pause in this region. And if it breaks this, then the next area is going to be down here. And on these announcements at 8:30, when the announcements, you may be able to watch and see if it goes and has a strong move right up to these areas that I just drew out. It's always kind of fun to see which way it is. But right now, inside the box, you're just coming up into the upper 25%. Here's the lower 25%. So we could draw like this. Here's an area. Here's one area that we'd be looking at. And here's the upper 25% of the same range. And see what it does. Do we have any questions so far?
Excuse me, Al, I have a question.
Okay, Christine.
And I'm sorry, it was on the other pair for a moment.
Oh, okay. We can do that.
I didn't want to interrupt your pattern of thought, so that's why I waited. When you had drawn your target area to the upside, there was a doji next to that body, the candle beforehand, like where your C is, I believe.
Right here.
Underneath there was a doji. Now,
let me see if I can see where that doji is. On the 15-minute chart.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, let me get that one. Let me get on that chart. So here's the C.
Okay. No. Maybe it was
this one here.
Above that. No. Maybe go back. I'm sorry.
Back. That's okay.
Maybe by the A.
By the A, maybe it's back here.
No,
oh, right here. This
A's
one.
Up on top. Your A is on top.
Oh, the other A. Here we go. Up here. Doji.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to interrupt you. You're in such a good train, so
yeah. No. Well, this is kind of a doji right here. This one right here is kind of a doji.
Right, but it was there was where you were. Oh, okay. Come down. Yeah, to this.
Down.
I think it was to the right. To the right.
All right.
All right. See how we have the blue candle, a doji, and a red.
Right there. Here. This one right here.
Right. Now, it's not that one because it was a target area. That I'm positive about. But anyway, just say for discussion's sake, that if you have a doji before that red candle, does that strengthen that beginning of, like, just say like this was a peak?
Yeah, a lot. I guess answer. I think I know where you're going. If I see where, like, I'm having a pivot high or something like that, and I see a doji close by, a lot of times I'll put it almost right on that doji, because the doji basically is saying is that candle closed in that time frame candle. Let's see, this is on I thought we went on a 15-minute. Why don't I get on 1 minute here? Let's do this. Maybe this might help the situation here.
It was immediately next to. You had the doji, and then you had the red candle, and
right here, this one here.
Okay, yeah, your target area right there.
That's on the wrong time frame. Yeah. I certainly respect this area because that's basically saying that all the buyers and sellers in that area on this 15-minute candle, we're right at equilibrium. So that is a lot of times I'll put it right on that doji, or I'll put it right on that doji candle for, uh,
Right.
but
I was
yeah,
talking
especially
about
if
the
it's
lower one. Al, you see the lower box you drew?
the lower box I drew.
Yeah, not like right above the C, lower than the A, but in the C you have a box. Right there.
Oh, this one here, yeah.
See
Oh, yeah, that's
that's
doji
a
right
doji.
there.
Yes, that's the one I'm
Yes,
talking about.
yeah. And that's why I would pick this area as an area that is one very valid reason
Okay. I,
to pick that area as a area for the breakout.
okay. I did think I just wanted to confirm that like the doji beside that candle to the right of it just strengthened the that area. That was my
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times when you see a doji, a lot of times I'll just draw the box right around that too, like that, because you know that's where the equilibrium was, and then finally the sellers took. It's like buyers are up, they've had their battle, and then the sellers won the battle. But obviously there was a battle going on there. There's a lot of buying and selling going on, and one couldn't overshadow the other one.
okay.
So
Thank
yeah, so that's that. But I think that's a good thing to point out, though. Any other questions? How many new people do we have in the room here today, or how many people are starting to get the hang of this methodology? So we have a couple of faces I recommend. Good. You're yeah, some new folks. Okay. If again, don't be fearful of typing in some questions. There is no question that's not worth answering. The more you can get clarity, if you have any questions, the more you can get clarity, the better off. And it's going to be kind of, I guess it's going to be kind of a slow morning for at least a little while. We have another 2 more minutes before the announcement. Let's take a look at the Euro US while we're waiting for it, because a lot of times, since that was a US pair, that may be worth taking a look and see the how it reacts to the news announcement. Might be a good learning experience. I'll take all these charts off here, and we'll just look at it on a 5-minute chart. This is going to be about another hour, or about another minute before the news comes out. And I would be thinking that it might be looking at breaking to the upside. If it breaks the upside, I'd be looking at a target area of probably right around in here. Here's the little doji that Christine was talking about earlier. Let's see what kind of a pop we'll get with the announcement here. That's 22 pips there to the upside.
Excuse me, Al.
Yes.
Alan had asked the question, am I correct in understanding that the wicks are just as important as the candle bodies when it comes to determining target TP entry, drawing wedges?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. The way I usually end up looking for my areas of for targets, I look and see where there's a lot of wicks. And let me just take this off, and I'll give you an example here. Is that you have the bodies of the candle, which is like, if you look over here, here's where all the bodies are. And I try and find the highest blue candle that hasn't been closed above. And so then I take this and I see where all the wicks are. I keep going across until I get a wick, and I keep going across until I come across a candle that now I run into the body of the candle. And then I go up, and that's where the next target area is. And as you see this one, doesn't have a wick on it. So it doesn't have a wick, and it goes up to this area. And then this would be my next target area. Look at that move down there.
Actually, Al, we just had a IRIS alert on
Did
the
we?
Euro USD. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to wait till this. That does not surprise me, but we're going to we'll wait and see how this thing plays out. We're going to give this a few minutes till it settles down here. But then you see that these are where all the wicks were, and then once you get here, here's another body of the candle. So the next target area would be up. I would move it up to this area at the top, and I could collect all those wicks there. I'd go from the body, and then I come up to where the highest wick is, and then once it broke that, come over here to this candle, and then the next area would be up in this area. And actually, on the 5 minute, I would have brought this one down, and then use this for the target region. And you can see at the top of this wick here is pretty much right at the top where that red body is. So yeah, the wicks are very important. The wicks are basically where the battle goes between the buyers and sellers, and then eventually one or the other wins out.
Wow.
You'll see here's 825. You can see how this now, if you look over, let's get on a higher time frame on this Euro US, since we'll go and we'll draw a wedge on this after this thing closes out. You can see where this is a good example when I was talking about with the wicks, is that you had a wick here, come over here, here's where the body comes. So here's where this would have been a target. And then I would have used this wick all the way down to here, run into another wick, and here's where the end of that series of wicks are. And you see it came right down into this region. And it didn't close below. So actually this wick right here held. But it would not surprise me for this thing to come down all the way down to this area right here. But this is where this red candle, I usually, when I look for a break to the upside, I always look for a close above a red candle coming down from below, because it comes up, it closed above, came back, you can see that this wick right here retested. We had a nice strong move down, came back up, closed, then closed above here, small little wick, no wick on this at all, small wick here, came back, closed above. So this was the area that it closed above. It came back and it retested this area. And then it went back up, retested that. But once it broke and closed and retested it, then it went straight on up to who knows where. And now it just came back. Now it's retesting this area again. So when we had this alert at 8:30, which is, let me take all this off now, since this is all of immaterial right now. I'll take this one off. So right now, if we're looking at let's take it down to a 1 hour chart here. And if you come here, let's just take this was on a higher time frame that we were looking at this. But we had, here's a blue candle, closed it, came back down, retested. So this area right here has a wick and has the body. So this is the area that we're looking at. And you can see, like right over here, when this announcement came, look where it came, right down to right at the body of this.
Just incredible.
So this is the area so right now this is a very significant zone. Once this breaks, if this breaks to the downside, the next area target is going to be, here's our doji that we're talking about. So I will respect that. We know there was a battle going on here. So we'll just start drawing this out now before we even draw our wedge, just so we have an idea what our potential targets are. So right now this is being respected, but once this breaks, this wick, it's coming down into this series of wicks before it comes down to the body, comes down and then comes down to this, and we bring our zone right like that. So now let's draw our wedge. Let's get on a 15-minute chart. And we'll see how this thing plays out. Maybe the wedge will be enough to give us enough of a reason to get into a trade here. So we can't really count this candle because this is where the announcement was. And it was a ascending wedge, so that means going from the low to the high. So I'm going to start with my wedge, start low. And now we could go to, I'm looking where the significant pivot high was for during this daytime period. And there's a high, here's the low. I'm looking for my trend line with a hit. Here's my low, here's my anchor, here's a hit, here's a hit. We do have a bit of a trend going from the B to, now the fact that this thing went all the way up here, I'm going to move this one up just because we knew that there was a lot of whipsawing on. So we know that there were some orders up here. We know there were some orders down here. So we have to respect that since that was already broken, but this is due to the announcement. So is there anything over here that we can be looking at, we should be referencing? And possibly, you could almost even possibly go all the way over to this area. And here's a hit. But yeah, we're just going to, we really can't ignore this part right here because there was orders there, and this is a range. So this really developed, what it actually did is developed a new range for us. This was ascending. Is this a slight ascending wedge? But we're just going to go and take it up to this area. I just got a cup of coffee delivered to me. That was awfully nice of her. So I do have a good wife.
Now,
Yes.
would you lower that line a little bit so that you incorporate a couple more of the hits, a couple of those red wicks?
There's, I really see that's the problem when you get these announcements is that there's such volatility that they're just, what they're doing is they get you into before the announcement, everybody's in and they just take stops. Everybody's got their stops. So the bottom line is that there was a trade that was taken up here. There was a trade that was taken down here. And so I'm going to go with the ascending, but I'm going to flatten this out to, I'm just going to keep that B right there. I'm going to bring my A back over to pretty much an area that might make, it was ascending. So actually we want to go to the, see, this is where it makes it hard to be able to draw these things when you have such volatility, because obviously there was something that was going on here. I would say this, once it stabilizes, we know that there was some orders down here, so we know it has that capability of getting down. If it breaks to the bottom, it's probably going to come down and retest that. But my guess is it's probably going to break to the top. Since it really didn't have as much, it had much more of a down move than an up move. I'd be more inclined to think this thing may break to the upside. Let me just see what, let me look at something else here. Let's see if we can figure this one out. Like I said, this is why I usually give it at least another 20, 30 minutes after the announcements for things to stabilize, and then just try and figure out what we have to work with. We'll also know a little bit whether or not the euro is stronger versus the where this thing is in the scheme of things. And right now, if we look at our charts that we're looking at for our let's see, this I need to get rid of that one. Put this one up. No, 14. Let's see. There we go. So here's my my three. Well, actually, I'll make this. It's a 3 hour. And right now, you can see that the euro, the dollar is stronger to the euro on the 3 hour. On the 30-minute chart, it's right evened up. So right now, there's a battle going on, and you see they're both kind of right of all the 8 pair. They're kind of, both of these are right in the middle. Oops, I'm trying to get this thing to, there we go, and one more. And so on our 15-minute chart, this is our 5-minute. So we have a 4, a 1 hour. I'll make this one a 15. And then we make this one a 5. Now I just keep this in my head. let it propagate. But right now you can see on the 1 hour chart, the euro is stronger by 3 than the US. Right now, the Canadian dollar is the strongest of all the currencies. These things keep flipping around. On the 15-minute, euro is stronger. So if we do take a trade on this, we're going to be taken to the upside right now based on what we're seeing is that the dollar is on the 4 hour, on this higher time frame, it's dollar is stronger. Let's see what it is on the 4 hour here. So we're not in any hurry to take any trades this morning. So we can go through some of our just technical analyzing. There it comes. And see now the higher time frames, the dollar is getting stronger. So we'd be looking at the euro US to go to the downside. But here is saying it's in the middle. Here is saying it's stronger. So right now we have a mixed bag on different time frames. And a lot of that has to do because of the announcement. Again, I'm going to be looking at have an angle where I can get a couple of hits. This was actually the trend that now seemed to be breaking to the upside here. But remember that big strong wick down. But so this is going to be the target area that we'll be looking at, right up in this area. I'm just going to let this one go, and we'll see what it does. The 15-minute chart. Let's go over to a lower time frame. See if it respects that.
Excuse me, Al.
Yes.
I see on your middle chart, it's on a 15-minute also. I think that's why our confusion was earlier.
Well, that's because my charts got switched around somehow.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out to me.
No problem.
I don't always see that. Okay, and see right here where I drew that that range that came right up there, and actually look what we have here. We have this 30-minute 62 sitting right here. Came right up, tagged it, respected it. So right now the range of this thing is trading in is pretty much between here and here. This is the box it's drawn. Now, if we get another alert after that announcement like that, then we may have something to work with. But right now, it's just everything's just trying to get a position. I pretty much like having the flat bottom here, bring the A over here. You have a flat bottom. I have one. Let me get on 5-minute here, see if we can make some sense out of this here a little bit. And if we have A, B, I say we like to tuck this in right here. So now we have a range. After the announcement, we have a little bit of a range. Now, if it breaks through this, where do we have another range target up top here? Looking at a 15-minute chart. If it breaks through the top, then, so this one's been tested, hasn't been broken yet. And so we're going to move this over, find a wick, and we're going to come up here, and this is going to be the next area of concern. And there's a wick, here's a body, here's our doji, and so I'd probably have to be looking at this whole area right up here for this. This would be the first area. This would be the first part where it would, so we came down, base came down, and right now I'll be looking for it to maybe retest this if it breaks through the top of, now that we have this range here. We can take this out of the way. So we have A, B. I'll take this on the bottom. Here's a drop. It was a base. We had a little bit of a violation here. Let's see where this is. I'm just going to let that be be a violet. So anchor, here's a little hit, violet came back down, hit. Now if it breaks to the top of this, we'll be looking to go to the upside. The euro is strong. There's a 15-minute chart. Euro is strong by 5. Now if we get a break, then I'll be more apt to take this thing long.
Excuse me, Al.
Yes.
Alan has a question.
Yes, Alan.
Al previously had moved the C away outside the wedge into the future from where it was originally drawn. After the alert, it was brought back to where it was. Why was it moved previously? I didn't understand the logic behind the significance of what was being taught.
Okay. Are we talking about the Euro USD, Alan?
Yes, that's what
okay.
you're on.
Yeah. Originally, well, before the alert, as I knew that at 8:30 we were going to have that big move. So whatever I had for this D, in this particular case, because I knew this announcement was coming, there wasn't a whole lot of, there wasn't much I could do with other than put it right here. Once the announcement happened, now I have a new range. I have this range all the way from down here to up here. Generally speaking, you're right, Alan, I don't move it. Normally, if I do, it's because I'm just running a flat line across for the wedge and just bring it on across, creating a new range. But for the most part, I don't move the D other than to help maybe draw a flat line from where my from where the B area was.
Al, it was the C, not the D.
Oh, it's the C.
Yes.
Well, with this again, the same scenario goes. When we had the announcement, it formed a new. When you get these announcements, you know they're going to be strong moves. It's what they're doing is searching for stops or finding out where the stops are, where the targets are. So once we get the announcement, now we have a new range from the bottom, and that's one reason why. Normally, if under normal circumstances, once it breaks like that, we're taking the trade. But we knew that we weren't going to take it today because we knew that whatever happened here was going to be because the announcement was going to be a very violent whipsaw, which is exactly what it would have been. Had we had to see here when we had the announcement, or we've had this plan before, when the announcement happens, by the time we got the alert, this thing already happened. I mean, it happened within a few seconds of 8:30. So there was no way of even, but once we had that, now we know where the level is. So now we can move it over. I don't know if that answers your question, if that makes sense. Generally speaking, in most cases, once we draw the wedge, we pretty much keep it, these A, B, C, D areas inside before where the wedge alert was. Okay, I don't know if hopefully that answers your question. As you're in this room, you'll see that there will be occasions when we do move it over, but for the most part we don't.
He meant Al, like the C was planted beyond. It was way into the future. That
Here.
Where the.
Now, sometimes what I will do is if I have my A anchor, which I know, okay, here's where my A is going to be. Well, let me get on a 15-minute chart. That's a little bit easier to see this. Hang on, pardon me just a minute. Okay, I'm back. We're on the 15-minute chart. Here's where the alert was. And so the alert was an ascending wedge. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be starting with the A at the bottom. Now it's going to be ascending to, and you can see it's just barely, it's barely up ascending before the announcement. If I can get this thing here to start, there we go. But there's a slight uptrend. Then I'm looking for a pivot high, which is going to be the previous pivot high before the A, which is going to be right up here. And you can see that this is a zone that I'm looking at as being pretty much of a target area. So let me just go and clone this. So this would be the target area. So that's right where I have my B. And then I can put my D down here, just the candle just before the announcement. So I have my anchor, I have a little hit here, and have my, so this trend now is valid. Okay, this one now that this thing got broken, and now that this came all the way up here, this again, this was the announcement. Now I know that since this was on the where the alert was, I'm going to move this up to here because I know that that's now the new range. To the downside, I'll still respect knowing that it broke down below this part of the wedge. And we know that before it broke to the top side, so we know we already missed this. We also know that this is where an area was that we needed to respect. Now we didn't take that trade because of the announcement, but now I'm going to flatten this out. And I'm going to put this D right here, even though it's right on where the alert was. Once you get that 15-minute area, once this candle closes, if you want to move these to where the alert was, that's perfectly okay to do because you just can't really take until that candle closes. But now if it goes and breaks the top of this wedge, now we're looking at this area up top here as a viable area. And we got looking at, and that's 19 pips away. So this thing does have some power to the upside. And let's see here. It's on another chart. And I'm just trying to look at some other areas here, what we're looking at. So right now we're waiting. We know that we have, and we're looking at where our moving averages are. And this came right up. This is where the 62. Now we do. Right now it's still consolidating. I prefer to see all these moving averages being in the correct direction, meaning that the greens above going to the upside, we have a green, yellow, and then have this one below the yellow. And right now it's not going to happen. So right now it's just going inside. Right now we're just looking at it basing inside here. With it, we knowing that we've got to break through this area, this 1851 area, before it's going to come up to this area. So right now this is what we call the supply zone. And that would be right in there.
Al?
Yes.
There's a question here from Alan. He said that there's still some confusion where the C was anchored prior to the wedge alert was in the future. And he says after the NFP announcement, the C was moved back to where it was anchored prior to the NFP announcement.
Well, here's where the NFP announcement was, right here at A3, and my C is still right here. It's still right there. So it's still before the announcement. So I'm not understanding the question. I haven't really moved the C yet. The only thing I'm noting is that I note that during the announcement, it took out where the CAC was. It came down here to this area. So this is an area of concern of where there's some buy orders coming in. But I haven't moved the C yet.
Okay, he's saying we'll need to rewatch the video. That's where his question stems from.
Okay, well, if I did move it, I don't know why. If I did, I don't know why I moved it. It wasn't intentional, other than the fact to note where the announcement was right here. But still, as far as the announcement or the wedge before the announcement, I would say I tucked it in as close to where the announcement was as I could, and then I have the hit anchor, and that's so. I guess I don't know what else to say about that. Now, I did move the D to the top after the announcement because D was down here.
Yeah,
but,
after the close.
But after the announcement, I did move the D back up to this one. I will admit to that, but I don't believe I moved the C over. So.
I imagine you would have adjusted with or without the announcement is what my thinking is. It's just as
Yeah, I
Ken.
mean, I mean, whenever when I do draw the wedges, I'll go after I draw them on the 15-minute chart. I'll tweak them to the 1-minute chart, like right to there, and I'll tweak this over to pretty much right to there.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I do that all the time, and the D would have been right here before the announcement, and I would then I would check the B over here. But this, and then we had the announcement. We had this nice big whipsaw. I mean, basically, we had the alert, which was right. I mean, we got the alert right at the announcement. So it was just looking at everything before that. The announcement happened, got the alert, and maybe the alert may have been triggered. I mean, since it was at the same time, maybe this movement is what actually triggered the alert. Can't say. I don't know. But I do know that. Right now it's broken out. It broke out of the bottom. Now it's broken out of the top. It came right up into that zone that I'm looking at where it was going to bounce from, and it's still bouncing from that. And so right now, even with the last, let's see how much range we've had here in the last few minutes here, from about here to as it's range 13 pips in the last 23 minutes. So right now there's we're just letting this stabilize, and there's a good chance we'll get another alert somewhere along the way here to, but whatever algorithm it uses, I do not know. But right now, I mean, we could take it if we can maybe take a look and see. Okay, with I mean, I'm just gonna keep that there. Right now, it broke. Right now, I'd like to see it come back down to retest where the wedge was, and then maybe we can have a possibility to take a trade to the upside. But here's the wedge. It already broke out. It may come back and retest it. But right now it's to me, it's a non-trade. So any other questions? We have a couple more, well, another minute, we may get another alert. We'll see if we get one at 9 o'clock.
Al, I have a question.
Yes, Christine.
Okay, when it broke to the upside, could you just draw, please, if it would have been feasible to get in at the close of the candle that's to the upside, but before the very large one, you had that smaller candle.
We're talking about the 15-minute?
No, right where you were on the 1 minute.
The 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Move to your left a little to the close to the upside. The very first close to the upside.
This one?
No, outside your wedge.
Outside the wedge. Oh, this one up here?
No, go down, 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 down. Okay, right there.
This one?
Yes, right right before that candle, right there. Okay.
Okay.
Now, would you have gotten in there because or is that that's still below our 2 pip? What we like to do at 2 pip.
Yeah, we like to have a 2 pip. Let me draw a 2 pip range on this. Let me get the range drawn on this.
Good, please.
So here's our, let's see, that's at 23.6, so 25.6. Right about there.
Okay.
Well, that seems pretty, I mean, no, it doesn't sound right. Let me try this again. This is on the Euro US. Okay, so there's basically 23, 24, 25. Yeah, that's about right. No, that is there's our 2 pip zone. There's our 2 pip zone. It came in and broke to the upside. As soon as this thing, we had the wick right here at the top.
Yes.
As soon as this thing closed, this big candle here more than likely turned red first. And then
Oh.
once it turned red and once it turned blue, then you're in. Now just click a market order. You probably wouldn't have been filled till you got up top here. That still would have given you, I mean, had this not, I mean, there's just, it was just so fast. I don't know how you could, no, just,
Oh, okay. It was just
yeah. But you would have had to do, and basically what you have is you have a wick over wick right here. You have basically strong move up, a wick, which is, and then you had the red candle. This blue candle first turned red. When this wick was developed, that was red. And then it came right back up. It didn't go very deep into this. It didn't go very deep into this blue candle. But it didn't even go probably halfway from the range of this candle. And so we're talking 1 minute charts here. So you have to
yes.
keep in mind about that. That here's, and right here is where the wick of the blue candle, of this blue candle, let me get a wick here. There it goes. As we spread this thing out. So this was the range of this, right? This one came up, no wick at all, came right in. So this, for this candle and this candle, for all practical purposes, was almost like the same candle. And then this one came down, wicked, didn't even go about, went about halfway of the range, and then it went out and broke to the upside. So as soon as you saw this red candle and say it's turned blue, I'm usually at the point where I'll just go and I'll do a market order and just hit the button. I may not get filled until I get up in this area, but then you're looking for your 7 pips from, say, pretty much from this area to, and you've gotten 15 pips on this one if you had stayed in it. You
Right.
certainly have gotten your 7.
Right. Okay. That was just my
Yeah.
question.
And right now you're seeing it's coming right back in to retest the trend line.
Yeah.
So it may give us another opportunity to get in. The question
Yeah.
is, does it have the strength to do so?
Right. It was just that it was all green. The 3 holes were all green, and where your RSIs were.
Yeah, right here.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's why I was, I had looked at that. I didn't quickly see the RCS at the moment, so I, so okay.
Yeah, and you can look and see where the RCS was red, that favored the euro. You had 3 green, that favored to go long, and you had both all these RSIs out of the 60% favoring to go long on this candle right here.
Right.
Once that closed, and then you see this close inside the wedge. I mean, this one didn't close. This one didn't break the wedge. This
Correct.
one did,
Mhm.
and so you still had the momentum going. So that would be another reason why I would not hesitate to take that as soon as that candle turned red to blue. As soon as it turned blue again, then I'd be in it.
Okay. That's what
And
I
you can
thought.
and just go right from the bottom. You go, okay, Euro's strong, 3 green, out of the 60, out of the wedge, closed in the wedge, boom, take the trade. And you can just do it just like that.
Thank you.
Now, even like right now, it's coming down into the wedge. Well, now these are going, they're below, they're not green. Dollar is strong, so now it's going to the upside. I wouldn't want to be taking it at this point until we had the flip. Now you may give up some pips, but I wouldn't be in a big hurry to take it because right now it's showing weakness. I would at least like to see this thing. I mean, I'd like to see it at least hook, maybe turn green. I like to see I like to see this thing on the 1 minute chart. I like to see this thing turn red, 3 green. I would accept if this thing's a hook heading on up, I may be willing to take it if the price action looks right. But right now, everything's saying that this thing's still going more short. So I'd be real hesitant to take it long here without more confirmation. Let's see what happens.
And plus, there's a lot of dollar strength to that too.
Exactly. Right now, the dollar is strong. Now, this is on the 1 minute, so that's not unusual. But I would like, that if the dollar is strong on the 1 minute, it's not ready to turn around yet. Once this thing flips, then if this thing flips, and we have confirmation on the other 2 time frame. Now this one, we lost our 3 spread here. We lost our 3 spread. Now assuming the dollar is strong, I don't want to be taking it long right now. Even though it's a pullback, you also see it's pulling back right into the wedge. Dollar is still strong. And this thing could pop out the bottom here. If it pops out the bottom, you'd be looking at this for a target. Dollar is strong by 2 now. It's getting a little bit stronger. We have a 4 spread here on the 5-minute, and dollar is still strong. But we also know that we had some buyers down and once it came down in here. Yeah, we're going to 9:30 today. So we'll see how this thing plays out here on the bottom here. Let's go to our two pip range here. We know that it's got more than that here in this.
Al?
Yes.
A question from Alan.
Yes, Alan.
It says on the RCS indicator for the USD euro, it shows USD as 7 strength,
Yes.
euro 1. Does the symbol ever change to a plus, or is it?
No, it goes from 0. It goes 0 to 7. It's never a plus or a minus. It's just all it is showing what the strength of that particular currency is reference to the other 7 currencies. The currencies that we're using for reference are the US yen, the US, the yen, the Aussie, the Swiss, the euro, the Canadian, and the New Zealand. And
I think, Alan, it is just a hyphen. It's not a negative.
That's just a hyphen. Yeah, it's not a plus. That's just a hyphen. That just shows you it's just a hyphen is what it is. Yeah. Okay, this thing's starting to break down a bit. Everything's still weak over here. Let's see what it looks like on this side. Remember, we know we had some buyers down here, so we have to figure out if we have our 7 pip range here. Let me see if to go short. And let's say we got in here. And we may take this thing short.
Dollar's pretty strong this morning, euro. Where was this yesterday?
Yeah. Well, and you see, like right now, it's let's see, where is that? At 11.9. So right about in here is about where the 2 pips is.
Wow, look at it go.
Yeah.
It's actually nice to see the US with a bit of strength.
But I would be but I'd be real hesitant to take it right now because we know we had some buyers that came in right in here.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see it come up, maybe retest the wedge. Because if you got in right now, you'd be hard pressed to let's see where our fib lines are. And see, this is why I say it's just the volatility is just hard to be able to predict it. And did we get any more? No alerts yet.
No, not yet.
Well, like I
Yeah.
said, when I first started, I said I probably wouldn't be taking any trades today because of the announcement, and probably wouldn't take anything until it stabilizes. So I said I would give it at least 20 to 30 minutes. In this particular case, I'm not even interested in trading it.
I'm interested to know, is anybody in this trade at all with the Euro US? Did anyone get in, or did they get in and out with profit? Awesome, Janine. Are you still in it, or did you get profit?
I think it's important to know where these target zones are, so that when it does break out, you know about where you're going to be looking at. I said, but this is still somewhat. I have a hard time predicting where it's going to go after these announcements. We have about 15 more minutes before before we wrap this thing up today. Any other quick questions? And Janine, are you in the short? I'm assuming you are.
Yeah, she's hanging in there. Good girl.
Now it's coming up to retest the bottom of the wedge. We'll see if it still has any pressure to the downside.
US is still strong on the 1 minute anyway.
So there's a little bit of a hook. Dollar is still strong on this is still on the 1 minute, and we're looking at dollar is still strong.
The dollar has a lot of strength across the board.
Yeah, it does. Right now it's let's see if we look at this. So right now it's the strongest of all the currencies. So taking it short would not be too much would be in order. So this is still our target zone right here.
Al, did you get in?
I did get in. I just took it short.
Yes, that's what I thought. Thought I heard your computer. It had a very strong hook to the downside on your RSIs.
This is actually a little bit of a flag pattern where it's got it dropped. It's got a little flag right here. Let's see if we can. And oftentimes when this happens, you can sometimes predict where it's going to go. I don't know if this one's going to work or not. So we still have this zone right here to get through. But we also have this area. This would be the area of the target that I'd be looking at. It'd probably be right into this zone, maybe a little bit below it. Or maybe what I'd do is I would draw it from like this, and then I would move it on up to the and make this one green. This is the first target area, and then this would be the overshoot. And looking at our higher time frames, we have the moving averages are in the right order, all in the right order on the 5, 15, and 1. Give a little bit more push here, and I'm out.
Did you get your 7?
I got 12.
Oh, wow. Good stuff.
Terrific. Janine, are you still in?
And if we look at some fib lines here, we have a blue, it's bouncing right off the blue fib line.
Oh, James got 14 too. Awesome, awesome. Love it when we get our pips.
Yeah. But you can see how these fib lines really do help to give you some target zones right here. The blues are very strong lines no matter what time frame. You got it's a 15-minute, 5-minute, and 1-minute all blue. I would expect to see a bounce off of that.
I'm amazed at how strong the US still is against the euro. I mean, US is the strongest, euro's the weakest at this moment.
Well, you know, it's Friday and it's non-farm payroll, and it's already the euro had a pretty strong run against the dollar, and it is time for it to correct.
Oh, 17 pips, Rajiv. That's just awesome, my friend.
You guys are doing great today.
Yeah. It's a good run. Well, the Euro US has been going to the high the whole time, like you were just saying. So it's time. It's a good day.
One reason I was okay taking this trade because when I saw this little flag pattern here, once it broke, that was the area to get in. Nice big strong red candle that took out 2 of these blue candles and closed below. You take a look at this, you'll see that We had the blue candle, there's the wick, second candle body, got the close below. They already tested the trend line. He gave up a few pips, but the fact that this was a pretty nice ranging set of blue candles, got the close below the 2 and then take the trade. The top of the wick would have been my stop. Actually, breaking the 62 moving average would have been my stop probably. You got in here. Yeah. You've had to be a little bit more, it was a little more of aggressive. Have another little flag developing here, but we also had this as the strong, this was the target area. Come over here on the higher time frame. Come all the way over here, and this is where the target was. You can see it bounced right off the top of that. It was right at the, there's our fib line. Came over here with it. So when you get a fib line and a target all at the same area, that's pretty strong. As I spread this out, you can see what I was looking at again. We're looking at this body. We had all the wicks over here, came down to the body, and here's where the up move started. And once the bottom of this gets broken out, it's heading on down below to this area right in here.
That big candle.
And it's still going.
Yeah, love it.
And it's all in one 15-minute move. This will probably be the move for the day.
Yeah.
And after, probably about 10 or 11 o'clock on a Friday, it'll probably just start going sideways.
If not the trade of the week.
If not the trade of the week. Yep.
It's still going. This is great. Janine, you still hanging in, or did you get out? Gutsy lady, she's still in.
Well, there's probably really, I mean, right now, other than the fact they're target zones, I'm not seeing anything that's, and this was a nice little pullback right here. So you can see this pattern is almost the same as this. And this thing could keep on doing this for a while still. I mean, it still has some potential here. This was an old trade. Make sure I have these things set right. Yeah, this one 5 minutes should be.
The pound is still climbing. If anyone's interested, it seems to be relentless.
Climbing. Let's see. I'm seeing a broken pound US.
I'm looking at
You're
the
talking
pound
about New Zealand, pound New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to look at that one.
Uh,
I know
well,
people that
I'm
trade. I know people that trade that are sorry that they did right at the moment.
Yep.
Funny. Mhm.
Yeah, it looks like we're having a little bit of a finally getting a little bit of a basing in here.
Yes, but will we then head down some more after that?
Well, the U.S. is still strong.
Yeah, it's not ready to give it up yet, but it's
This will be great to watch even after class finishes.
yeah, this will be good. It'll be interesting to see how this thing closes out the day. How much
Yeah.
it retraces back, how much it keeps on going. But it's been time for this thing to start recovering.
Does anybody know what the NFP came out as?
We can take a look. I'm not sure I even know what even what it. I see what it says. I don't know what I don't totally understand it. Let's see what we had here. The non-farm payroll was. Let's see, previous forecast.
Oh, it doesn't have the actual yet.
It just doesn't have it yet.
You have to maybe reload the chart for it to
Yeah,
refresh.
I would think it should be up there by now.
There. I don't know.
There it is. Okay, we have non-farm payroll. We have
Oh, okay.
actual.
Yeah, that's where our strength's coming.
Yep.
Good number.
Forecast. Yeah, better than forecast.
Yeah, terrific. And I believe when you looked, the unemployment rate was 0.3 better. It's not a huge amount, but may have given some confidence also.
Yep. See, gold is still hanging right around the 2050 area.
What are your thoughts?
I was talking to a gold dealer yesterday, and they're projecting 4,000, selling in about 3,500 an ounce.
Oh my gracious.
Really?
He said a lot between now and November will tell a lot of the story, but that's still kind of a wild card. But that's what they're looking long range.
Wow, that's incredible.
I think they're selling a lot of gold right now.
Running for the safety.
Yep. Swiss franc, gold, Japanese yen. Not sure why the yen is, but it seems like it has been in the past. And on that note, it's 9:30. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Any last questions before we go? Hope everybody had a good trading week this week, and we will see everybody tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, but Monday. Monday, 8 o'clock. Same time, same station.
Thank you very much, Al.
Thank you for everybody. Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Eva, for your help.
Sure.
And everybody have a great weekend.
Okay.